What's going on, you bunch of heretics, and welcome to SlapChop Anything. To start this series off, we are going to be slap chopping a World Eater's Khorne Bezerker, making him Grimdark, making him horrible, making him good to go. As always, everything you need will be in the description below. So yes, hopefully you'll find this video useful. Right, without further ado, let's get to it. Right, so yes, here is our Khorne Bezerker, built and primed, ready to go. I appreciate on our older videos we would spend a bit of time doing the old dry brushing slap chop method, small circles with a grey and then a white. But now I've decided to use a more zenithal priming approach. And if you want to see that video, you can click to the very end of this video and there will be a link, or click in the description below and it will show you how I'm going about priming these miniatures. In essence, we're using a colour forge matte black, followed by a standard grey, and then followed by a matte white to finish over the top. But again, if you click that link, you'll see a full detailed video of how we're creating this initial zenithal / slap chop base. The first paint we're going to use today is bright red. There's no need for any speed paint medium for this, but we're going to apply 2 thin coats with bright red. Using our wet palette as our starting point, just 1 single drop on the wet palette and then applying 2 thin coats of bright red. So with our 2 layers of bright red on there, that's 2 layers, 2 thin coats. A couple of key points you probably would have noticed is that in certain areas you can probably see that I've kind of gone over a few of the areas. That's absolutely fine. Bright red's probably the lighter of the colours that we're going to be putting on today, and we'll be able to cover that up with the kind of metallics that we'll be using and the black that we'll be using as well. But 2 thin coats, that should give you a nice, really nice Khorne Bezerker base red. That's kind of like the hardest part done as well, really, as well for today, so which is also really good. So we've got the bulk of it all done, so now we're going to start to add a little bit of depth into the model and then really start to bring the character to life. Next up, we have speed paint medium and slaughter red. With these two, we're always going to do a 1-to-1 1 drop slaughter red and 1 drop speed paint medium. We're going to apply 2 thin coats of this mixture to the model. This will just really give it a little bit more depth, and you'll start to see the recesses kind of like to create some nicer gaps, and it really, like I said before, it just adds a little more depth to the model. Alright, so 1-to-1 speed paint medium and slaughter red. Right, there we have our 2 thin coats of slaughter red and Lahmian medium. That 1-to-1 mix that we've grown to know and love. So yes, as you can see now, we've got a much nicer, deeper red, that classic Khorne red that we know and love. So yes, right, on to our next part. Next up, again, speed paint medium and dusk red. What we're going to do here is we're going to create ourselves a bit of a wash. So we're going to have 1 part dusk red, so 1 drop, to 2 to 3 parts or 2 to 3 drops of speed paint medium. Again, we only need a single layer of this. It's a single wash of this mixture over the entire model. Well, over the areas we've painted red. My apologies. So that's dusk red 1 part, and 2 to 3 parts, 2 to 3 drops of speed paint medium. Right, there we have our dusk red wash applied. Just 1 single coat is all that's needed in that 3 to 1 or 2 to 1 mix that we've gone out. I've gone with a 2 to 1 mix for this occasion. But yes, there he is in all of his glory. The red, really nice, really deep, looking really good. Don't worry, we are going to bloody him up and make him a lot more grimdark later on. So now that I do have my main coat on, what I am going to do is I'm going to apply my technical base now. And that's going to be our technical Astro Granite. And I'm just going to apply that all over the area, all over the base. It just allows it time to dry while I do everything else on the miniature. And it shouldn't get any paint anywhere else because I've already applied all the stuff I want to. So now's really a good time, especially when you're speed painting and batch painting, that you can put on your bases. First things first, we're going to be starting off with Ruddy Fur. Okay, that's Ruddy Fur. And again, this is just straight onto our wet palette, 1 single drop, and then let the wet palette kind of do its job. So when you're applying this, get a little bit onto your brush, take off the tip, and then just apply it into those areas we just discussed. So 2 thin coats of Ruddy Fur. So there we have it, our 2 thin coats of Ruddy Fur applied to the gloves and the handle of the axe. Next, we're going to apply 2 thin coats of Satchel Brown. Okay, Satchel Brown. This will give a really nice, dark, rich texture to the miniature, which is what we really want. So yes, 2 thin coats on the wet palette of Satchel Brown. There we have it, our 2 layers applied, and that will just dry into a really nice deep brown texture. Don't worry, when we put that Xandri dust on, that burnt tuft dry brush over, that will really give it that weathered leathery look, which is what we want. Next up, Agrax Earthshade. It's a classic, but we're going to put those into the areas that we've just applied the brown to. Right, it's Xandri dust or burnt tuft time, folks. So with this, again, we're going to do what we usually do. We're going to get plenty on our dry brush. Okay, you want a decent dry brush. Take all of it off, okay, absolutely all of it, and then we're going to feather dust all over the model. Key focus points with this is obviously going to be the leather on the gauntlets or the gloves, and of course just a good bit of weathering over the red. Not too much, don't worry. We are going to grimdark it up with non-oil and some other bits and pieces as well. Right, we're just adding a very slight highlight and a bit of weathering with our burnt tuft, as always. Remember guys, feather dust. And there we have it, all done. Like I say, you don't want to go too heavy with this. Complete feather dusting. So yeah, alright. It'll make sense in a second as to why we've done this part now and not before the black. Okay. Now, this isn't something that we usually do here on Hero Season My Therapy. However, as we are using our wet palette, we're just going to go straight in with some Grim Black. 1 drop on your palette, and then we'll do 2 thin coats of this. This all makes sense very shortly because we're going to dry brush with white, and our old friend Pterodon Turquoise is going to be making an appearance. But for the time being, we're now going to use Grim Black. 2 thin coats of Grim Black. So the areas I'm going to do this is going to be on the gun casing. Again, get all the palette, all the panels done before you move on. Just make sure, just to keep the brush continually wet, don't let anything pool. Okay. So the gun casing, all of the in-between work, so where all the kind of seals would be. Here's leather pouches, belt, belt area, and in the axe. Okay, so in the hilt, in the kind of inside casing of the axe. So 2 thin coats in those areas. If he has got a cloth, the cloths are going to also be in black as well. Okay, so 2 thin coats of this. Oh, sorry. And also I'm going to do the sort of exhaust ports of the miniature as well. So as you can see, we've done 2 thin coats of the black on the grooves, or sort of like the inner material, the backpack areas, some of the hoses, the webbing pouches, gun casing, inside the axe, and across the chest. So we're now going to get matte white, and we're simply going to dry brush over the areas that we've applied the Grim Black to. So all these areas here, we're just going to apply just a feather dusting of matte white, ready for our old friend Pterodon Turquoise. And there it is, just a nice feather dusting over the miniature. So over those areas in black that we've just done, we're going to use a 1 part Pterodon Turquoise to 2 parts Speed Paint Medium. Okay, so 1 part Pterodon Turquoise to 2 drops of Speed Paint Medium. Okay. And there we go, our Pterodon Turquoise just applied to those areas in black. Next up, for the skull that's on his sort of chains, his trophies, we're just going to use a simple layer of bony matter, straight from the pot, 1 drop, and then just paint that onto that area. Next up, we're going to be applying the gold trim. Okay, so the gold trim on the miniature, and for this you are going to need Hoplite Gold. Okay, Army Speed Paint Hoplite Gold, and again 2 thin coats of Hoplite Gold onto the helmet trim, elements of the axe, the trim all around the edges here, trim around the gauntlets, and then any other places that you want to add it on there. I'm going to use these 2 exit ports as gold around the base of the webbing pouch, and then a little bit on the icons of Khorne as well. Alright. Right, and there we go, we've now applied our gold, that gold trim onto the armour of our Khorne Bezerker. This does take a little bit of time, so please take your time with it, and just, you know, trust the process. It's going to get Grimdark real soon, don't worry. So next time again, we're going to get our broadsword silver, our SPEEDPAINT metallic broadsword silver. And all we're going to do, we're going to place it on the gun casing areas. We're going to place it on some of these wires and kind of the chest pieces. All this chain work here as well, the teeth, and obviously any sort of like exposed chain work that we've got on here. Maybe a bit of the spike, a bit of the axe, and yeah, and the grenade as well. Okay, and there we have our two thin coats of broadsword silver into those metallic areas. All we're going to do next is we're going to grab our Nuln oil, and all of those areas we've applied metallic to, we're now going to apply a layer of Nuln oil, a good wash over the model. If it gets onto any parts of the rest of the model, it really doesn't matter, because it's just going to add to the Grimdark effect. Okay, so a layer of Nuln oil into the gold and silver areas, and if it gets onto the parts of the models, don't worry about it. It's all part of it all. Right, so there we have our Nuln oil just really applied all over those areas. Gives it a really nice grimy effect, that world-eaters look that we've come to know and love, all very corrupt. So next up, we are going to be using our shining silver. We're going to do a dry brush side. Once this is all dried, we're going to get our shining silver, and again we're just going to feather dust over the gold and silver areas. What we're also going to do is we're also going to apply that very liberally and very loosely just over some of the black area sort of, and again if it goes onto the actual bodywork, again it doesn't matter, this would replicate battle damage, scratches, scarring, so again it's no real issue. Alright, so again we're just going to go all over the trim, the chains, all the gold areas, and all the silver areas, and a little bit on these blackened areas here with our polished silver. Again, a feather dusting is all we really need, and then we're going to aim to get some skin done, and then add the Grimdark effects. And there you have it, that is the silver just applied. As you can see, it just gives it a bit more of a nice shine. As I said before, it doesn't matter if you go over some of the metallic like I have done here and here, a little bit on the helmet. When we add the Rhinox hide dusting in a bit, and the battle damage, it will just kind of carry over quite nicely. Alright, so we're going to add a little bit of Niliac oxide. All we're going to do is we're going to place these in all of the rivets. So in all of the rivets on the miniature, place it in the rivets, and then in between the kind of between the rivets on the shoulder pads. This just gives it a nice oxidized look. It's like the wear and tear of the armor, the oxidization, that little bit of a chaos feel. Okay, and all this is very simply is on the palette, rinse it off, wipe it off, and then just add little bits in. Okay, so there it is, that's the Niliac oxide applied, and as you can see, just sits really nicely in the grooves, in the gaps, and just gives that a really nice weathered and chaos feel to it. Okay, so next we're going to use our agate skin. Okay, agate skin, and very simply just in the areas of skin, we're just going to put that agate skin in there. Alright, just 2 thin coats is all you're going to need. Okay, and that is there applied on there. After that, we're then just going to apply warrior skin. Okay, just again a thin layer of warrior skin, just straight from the pot onto your palette, and warrior skin. No need to dilute it down with speed paint medium. Okay. While waiting for that to dry, we're just going to get some matte white and place 2 dots in the eye lenses. Okay. Again, a small brush, thin point, and just take your time with this. Next, for the eye lenses, we're going to use Caribbean Ocean, just a single drop onto our palette. No need to water it down. And all we're going to do is a very thin layer into those eye lenses, just like that. Add more if you want to, otherwise this should just be enough. Now that the skin's dried, the warrior skin, we're just going to get some ushabti bone, and all we're going to do is do a very light dry brush over that skin area. So really real feather dusting over that skin. Okay, so next we're going to use some Rhinox hide to create some kind of basically dirt splatters all over the miniature. And there's 2 ways of doing this. One, you can get a pair of tweezers and a little bit of sponge, dip it into your Rhinox hide, take a lot of the Rhinox hide off the brush, then quite simply just dab absolutely everywhere, all over the miniature. Okay, just keep doing this, keep retopping it up and just dabbing it all over the miniature, and it will create a really nice splash effect of mud on your miniature. If you haven't got one of those, just use an old dry brush to kind of stipple effect. Again, put plenty on the brush, take it all off, get it on your dry brush palette, and then same again, just literally stab and dab, okay, absolutely everywhere on the model. Okay, the good thing about if you're using this one, you can go a lot heavier around the base of the feet Okay, and then just wherever else you want to go with. Alright, and then we'll be using this again when we apply blood for the blood god. And there he is, covered in dirt, grime, grit. Now if you want to add a little bit of Agrax Earthshade in there every now and then, you can do, but I think this is kind of gives the nice appeal that we want as it is. And now it's time for blood for the blood god. So now finally we're going to add blood for the blood god before we get on to our basing. So this is where, you know, put as much or as little as you want, but we're going to use our stippling brush, and same again, plenty of blood on the brush. We're going to take as much off as possible, and we're just going to slowly build up all the areas we want to have blood on them. Concentrate highly on the blades of the axe, fists as well, where it's been punching the life out of people. Then basically any sort of bladed areas, fists, blade areas, boots, knee pads, edges, skulls, basically everywhere that you want to add the blood to. Don't go straight into the pot and straight on. Make sure you just take plenty off and build. Okay, you don't want to overdo it. All right, and then you'll be able to blood. You can add bits of blood into the area if you want, but then you'll be able to finally base your miniature. Okay. But you know what? I'm quite happy with that amount. And we just let that dry. And then we start to add our base now. Right, and there he is. All based. All done. Plenty of blood. I think I might have mucked up a little bit on the basing a little bit, but I might make a few alterations. But yeah, other than that, I'm pretty happy. Berserker, blood for the blood god. Let me know what you think to this Khorne Bezerker, and if you found this video useful. If you have, leave a comment in the comment section below, and look forward to hearing your thoughts. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.